Number one question off the bat. Are you a DJ first or a producer first?
I'm a producer first. I give all respects to the DJs holding it down.
Yes.
I do mix, I rock parties, but you know, I try to keep the DJ off of it. You know?
Right.
But I can't rock a party. You know what I'm saying? But I'm producer first.
Speaking of being a producer, now you released that Electro Wonderland drum and bass sessions in 05, man. So my question to you, being in a hip hop group, how would you release something kind of to the left like that? Where does that drum and bass background come from with Amp Live?
That's something that started in Atlanta before we came out to the Bay, like about 6 or 7 years ago. And on our first album, Mind Over Matter, we had like some drum and bass songs, and like a lot of people liked it. But we sort of moved away from that. The drum and bass scene changed. It got bigger, and morphed into different things. So it was sort of like giving an ode to like all of our fans who were really into the drum and bass and stuff that we did. And actually, I didn't do it as a serious project at all. I just made it to sell on tour or whatever, and then stores started ordering it. So you know, next time we'll have to do it big.
Is this you recommend being on acid when you listen to acid? You know what it is? I think there's a misconception about drum. Like you said, it comes from the ATL. Like I think of, you know, kids in some big, you know, valley taking drugs and get, you know, like. But I gotta imagine Amp Live doing drum and bass really brings some.
I mean, man, drum and bass is so big now that it's like, you had different types of stuff. You had the rave kids, you had like the soul cast, you had the hip hop. So it's like, I mean, you could do whatever to it. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff that I do is more soulful. Then I have some hard stuff, you know, and like. Yeah, I mean, I think that scene has changed. It used to be a lot about the drugs and the partying, but now it's just like the true fans really stay tuned to that genre of music.
Why don't you, like you mentioned, you work with Linkin Park, you've done drum and bass, you do Zion I joints. Why don't you just stay in the pocket and do one thing? Why do you spread yourself around like that?
Because, for one, I'm naturally interested in different types of music, like naturally. So I'm just going to be myself and try to just do whatever I'm feeling. And two, I don't know. Some cats are good at that. I'm not good at that. Like, I can't just stay with one thing. I get bored.
You get bored, yeah.
Yeah, and I like mixing it up.
As we continue on, Zion I in the House, Wednesday Night Live. We have the other half of Zion I in the House. Now, we're going to get a Zion MC right now. Amp Live was saying he wears, you know, various hats. And you are no exception, man. You've developed an alter ego by the name of Baba Zumbi. Baba Zumbi. Am I pronouncing it right?
That's correct, man.
Tell me the difference between Baba Zumbi and Zion I. Who are those two different guys, and how'd you create that whole alter ego?
Well, Zion that's just, you know, that's why I started with this cat back in Atlanta in the 90s. Baba Zumbi is just like the ill alter ego, a little more edgy, a little more weeded out, a little more subconscious lyrically, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's just like being a conscious MC or whatever, somebody who talk about positive things. Sometimes it's like you're on a railroad track and people just want you to stay there. So I was just trying to create like a different avenue to loosen up and maybe do some of the humorous things that are also part of my life, you know what I'm saying? Just do something a little different.
How do you create as far as in the studio? Do you get in the studio, vibe on beats and do it right there, or do you take a beat home from Amp Live and take a couple of days? How do you create?
I mean, so we've been doing it so long, there's different ways. Most of the time, I say 80% of the time, I just go in the studio and he plays beats. And I pick one. Like, I'll listen, that's cool, that was cool. Oh, that one. You know what I mean? Because usually the best music we make is stuff that he does, and I hear it, and it gives me inspiration immediately, and I just start going. That's 80%. The other, like, 15, 20, I'm just going to the crib, he's giving me a beat, and I'm sitting on it. You know, sometimes it's not so easy to write to everything. So sometimes I got to meditate and relax. But most of the time I'm in the studio just on the spot.
Right.